There were a couple more questions. Do you just
We'll
want
we'll
to
stay.
answer?
We'll stay and answer those, but we
Great.
need. Yeah, go ahead. So you feed us what we.
Sure. So Stacy Burden mentions that her invincible spirit hydrangea blooms have fallen from all the continued storms. She's got them supported on the inside, but besides just cutting them back, are there any other suggestions on how to get that plant to stand back up?
Now, once they've been knocked down by a storm, our Bears britches was standing up so beautifully, and usually does.
I mean, you could crucify it to put it back up.
Yeah, you can't. We have done that. I remember putting a delphinium back up because it got knocked down the day before the garden walk. And it is a painstaking problem where you stake each stem. So I'm going to put a very thin, we were using fiberglass rods, but you could use a very thin bamboo, and actually sticking the rod in at the angle we wanted the stem to be, then bringing the stem up to that rod and using soft ties to tie it to it. But you were staking each stem. You may be better off to say next year, which is what we it's so good that we gardeners have it next year.
Even next week.
Yeah.
And Jeanette is asking, how do you get thistle out of your garden?
We for thistle, yeah, go quick. For us, we take thistle out by, if it's a new infestation, we haven't seen thistle before, then we're going to go to the biggest plant, dig it out, and follow its roots outward, because it is just invaded. And we can usually trace it outward to wherever it was planning on coming up later. If it's been there for a while, so we know we've had thistle last year, we have thistle again this year, we're generally going to take the things in that area out, clean the roots out, put them someplace else, keep that patch where the thistle was covered with a heavy mulch, and continue killing thistle that comes up, either by digging it or killing it as we go along. But I know that not everybody can do that, and some gardeners control the thistle by simply plucking out thistle every time they see it. And it's a forever.
Bull thistle, you might eventually get it, but Canada
Thistle runs. Bull thistle is a biennial that grows by seed, and you can get that more easily. But whatever you do with thistle, you have to respect it. You have to say, I know what you're going to be. If I want to just pluck it out, that's what in South Lyon Ginger does. She just plucks it. She's next to farm fields, and it's full of thistle. They're just going to keep coming in from the field. So she just goes through weekly, and any bit of thistle she plucks out so that it can't get enough energy to spread further into her garden than it already is.
Good advice. And Michelle Armstrong is asking for any suggestions for a shade tree that will grow near where a walnut tree was cut down.
That's the other thing that was supposed to go into the chat additional list. I was going to scan the walnut list. Okay, what grows with witch hazel grows with and makes a nice small tree, the fall blooming witch hazel. Red buds grow with okay, what else is at the Arnold underneath the walnut collections? So
and she's looking for a shade tree. Okay, yep.
A shade tree. Which other ones grow with walnuts? Hackberry. But you know what? Thank you for reminding me, Michelle. The list that we found most helpful, which was from the extension in Kentucky, West Virginia, was taken out of print, and we have a copy of it, but I need to scan it, and I can put it up on our website. What they did was went out and surveyed native black walnut areas, and they within 300 feet of the walnut, they inventoried all the plants that were growing and made a list that in 25% of the cases, there was coral bells growing with walnuts. Whereas in only 1% of the cases were there burdock bushes growing with black walnut. So you're much less likely to grow a walnut than a pucra. So we'll put that list up, and you can take a look at it and see which other plants you can put in there.
Great. And Nancy mentions that she's planning on painting that Harry Lauder like you guys did, and she'll plant a clematis around it and use it as a trellis.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes.
That's
yes.
cool. Yeah.
No.
And let's see. I think that's. Oh, wait. Do sprinklers work against smaller mammals or just deer?
Yes, they do work on the
They
smaller
will
mammals
work
too.
on a groundhog.
And that's where those more sensitive controls that I saw on this orbit that we just showed you. On the scarecrow, they weren't so sensitive. You were setting the sprinkler for how much movement and how big an item it was looking for. And you were trying to get it so that it didn't go off just because a branch waved in the wind, but small enough that the groundhog got scared away too. So having the finer controls is a nicer way to be able to do that. But yeah, you work with it first, and this is where you need a buddy. Okay, walk
Yeah.
by, see if it's okay, or walk your dog, call your dog past
Yeah.
it, see if it goes
Yeah,
off.
let's do this, let's do that.
And I think that's it, you guys.
Thank you very much, everyone, for being here, for your questions, for giving us all something worthwhile. We'll go back to the trouble list and call it a day. Thank you very much for contributing, because everything that you ask just gets turned on to that great big rotating lazy Susan and handed off to other gardeners this way. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for subscribing. If you know anyone that's interested in this, tell them to subscribe. Tell them to even just subscribe to several individuals, because we have that package this year where you can choose which ones you want to come to. And we will be back on August 12th talking about deadheading, as well as whatever problems come up that week. See you all later.
Bye,
Therese,
everybody.
thank you. Can't
Take
thank you
care.
enough, Therese.